how the legend of Alpine began.
What's up, guys? Thrush here. I just figured I'd bring you a review of the new game with gold for this month called Guacamelee. It's the Super Turbo Championship Edition, and this game has been out on PlayStation for a while, but we're lucky enough now to finally get it on Xbox, I think a few weeks ago. And now that we are able to get it free with gold, it's pretty awesome, and it is a nice change of pace from those of you who've been playing Titanfall or Dead Rising, Call of Duty, that type of thing. It's a much different style of game, and I find it's a nice break from playing all the other sort of AAA games that you expect all the graphics to be flawless and that sort of thing. And while the graphics in this game are awesome, by no means are they like AAA title graphics, that sort of thing. But the game itself, the gameplay is pretty fun. It's an action platformer, lots of punching, lots of combos, lots of special moves you learn as the game goes on. We'll talk about that a little later. But the one big thing is this game, I feel, is pretty racist, or at least it's comedically racist. I'm assuming that the developers are not racists. I'm hoping they're not racist. But this game is just absolutely hilarious. I mean, you learn your moves from a goat, and you're fighting a devil on some sort of Day of the Dead celebration who has taken the president's daughter. So it's a pretty out there game in terms of a storyline, that sort of thing, but the gameplay is solid. Lots of cool mechanics. One of the things I really like is as you learn the new moves, those moves tend to become the only ways you can access new platforms. Where that means, like, you don't learn double jumping until the very end of the game. So before that, you need to sort of be using this high sort of uppercut to sort of thrust yourself up to reach higher platforms and that sort of thing, which is a pretty cool way to do it, as opposed to just giving you a bunch of powerful moves that make you stronger, but the movement never changes. This game is really good at making sure that when it gives you a new fighting skill, that fighting skill somehow integrates into the moves you need to be doing through the level to reach the platforms you need to be reaching. Which is awesome. All the bosses in this game are also very, very different in how they play. There's not, like, I know the one thing that I always go back to is the whole Mario 3 stomps on the head, you win. I mean, that's a very basic formula that has done Mario well for so many years, and this game completely says, no, we can do better, we will do better, and all the bosses are different, unique. They all have very different fighting styles and different strategies to take them on, which I thought was pretty cool. There also is a ton of upgrades and abilities you can add on top of what you get with the basic storyline. There's these little sort of save points that are dressed up as sort of little like these little candle stands all around the worlds, and through there you can buy costumes which actually affect your ability and your stats. And the gameplay you see here in the background, I'm wearing a chicken costume, which actually upgrades, it lets me regenerate health over time, but it makes me all my attacks slightly weaker overall. And there's tons of costumes, all with their upsides and their downsides, which I thought was quite interesting, as opposed to just sort of a cosmetic thing. And then finally, there's these abilities you can purchase as you take on sort of groups of bosses. You're given after every, well, not groups of bosses, or groups of enemies. You're given these pinatas to break open, which contain a ton of gold. And once you save up enough of that gold, you can buy abilities, whether it's an extra one puzzle piece of 3 you need to gain an extra health bar, or maybe a little extra stamina, which you can see as the yellow dots up there by my health up at the top. So it does a really good way of helping to motivate you to not only keep playing, but to play so you can get the maximum gold out of each enemy, so that you can upgrade as far as you can, because by the end of the game you will need the upgrades. This game is very clear on the fact that if you don't have the skills in a certain area, you're going to know right away, and you're just going to die until you go back and get that ability, which I thought was pretty cool. One of the things that really helps to set this game above your standard platformer like a Mario game, or even Max Curse of the Brotherhood, which is one of the other games available for gold this month, apart from the rest, is how it integrates all your new abilities and how it sort of trickles down to you as you go. You never have, basically up until the end, you never have more than you need, and there's sections that you will need to go back and do, but usually the game is pretty smart in helping to lead you back there. Like, it's not going to be one of these quest type games where there's certain sections from the beginning of the game that are completely blocked off, and you never go back there until you actually decide you want to go back there after the game is over and unlock everything. But what this game does is it gives you 4 or 5 special abilities, like a special headbutt, a sort of a running punch move, a nice big uppercut, as well as a downward body slam, that not only help you move through the world and unlock, you'll see colored bricks throughout the gameplay here, that can only be opened with the move that corresponds to that color. There'll also be enemies that come out later in the game with shields of that color, so to even start doing damage to them, you have to be able to hit them with one of those moves. It's a really, really neat concept, and they introduce them slowly over time, so you're never that much stronger than your enemies, but they don't leave you completely powerless, that this is going to be like a Super Meat Boy or an impossible game where you just will never win. They also bring in these really neat elements that I wasn't expecting, and I don't want to spoil why they happen, but I'll just sort of tell you what they are. Is these things like you can actually transform into a chicken, and there's a bunch of areas that you can only reach when you're in chicken mode, and you can still actually fight in chicken mode, you're just quite a bit weaker and without a lot of your powers. And then much near the end of the game, you gain the ability to dimension swap, because as I said at the beginning, this is sort of based off like Mexican folklore sort of thing, and focuses around the Day of the Dead, and you can actually swap between the living world and the dead world, so that when you go into villages, certain houses and whatnot will be open to you in the living world and others will be shut, and then vice versa when you swap over to the dead world. And you'll have enemies that are actually in both, and you can see in game the enemies that are in the other dimension are in black, and they're actually able to attack you, but you can't attack them unless you're within that same dimension. So it's a really neat concept to sort of keep all your fingers busy while playing this game, as opposed to a very simple concept, which, as great as it can be, gets boring and tiring after a while. What this does is it teaches you a mechanic, lets you spend quite a bit of time with that mechanic, and then just when you thought that was going to be it, they give you one more. So that seems really, really nice. In here as well, unfortunately I wasn't able to really test it out, but there's also a 2-player mode in this, where you can each play. You can play as Juan here, or his sidekick Tostada, which again just goes back to the little bit of racism I was talking about earlier. And then finally, the one last mode they give you when you're feeling completely overpowered, as you can see right here where I am, is the Super Intenso mode, where you do quite a bit more damage. You regain health while you're in this mode, and that meter sort of just builds up as you were doing combos and avoiding getting hit by enemies. So it gives you a lot of things, not only for players that want to do things perfectly, but for players that are struggling a little bit, and it is really able to cater to all sides of the platform, which seems really, really cool. So hopefully, if you have an Xbox One, or even if you have a PS4, check out this game. Right now it's free until the end of the month on Xbox One if you have gold, so definitely go give it a download, give give it a try. Let me know what you think. If you like the races, find the races and stuff funny, let me know. Let me know why. Do you think the stuff is over the top? That sort of thing. Just hit us up in the comments below. And myself or one of the other Chill Gaming Lounge members can hopefully get back to you. I think most of these guys have tried it at least once or twice, so they should hopefully have some answers for you as well. I'll leave you here with just a couple minutes of gameplay that I got the other night, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks guys, have a great one, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment.